Coming up on This Week in Radio Tech, we went all the way to Kotzebue, Alaska to grab Pierre Lonewolf, and he's appearing with us. He's got some amazing stories about how to do engineering in the tundra of Alaska. Look out for polar bears and people getting into your transmitter site to get out of the weather. It's all coming up next on TWiRT. This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you by Broadcasters General Store with outstanding service, savings, and support. Online at bgs.cc. By Broadcast Bionics with the Bionics Studio, including talk show control, social media, and visual radio. Broadcast Bionics brings exceptional audience engagement to radio and TV. By Angry Audio. Audio problems disappear when you get angry at angryaudio.com. By Nautel, worry-free transmission you can count on with outstanding control, reliability, efficiencies, and Nautel's unmatched 24/7 customer support. Online at nautel.com. And by Max Connect Wireless, prioritized high-speed internet service designed for transmitter sites and remote broadcasts. Hey, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech, the show where we talk about everything from the microphone to that light bulb at the top of the tower. I'm Kirk Harnack here in the Nashville studios, the Telos Alliance studios in Nashville, Tennessee. We're recording the show on Tuesday, November 22nd, because a lot of us are going to be, sleeping after our turkey dinner on Thursday. But we've got a great show for you because we got one of the most interesting engineers in the world going to be talking to us. And he's so humble, so low key. He doesn't think he is, but I think he is. However, in the meantime, we're going to go to someone who's just a little more interesting, and that's Chris Tarr. Hey, Chris, welcome into the show. Good to see you.
Hey there, Kirk. Good to see you. Yeah, I'm going to be a little more low key today. I have bronchitis, so a little bit under the weather, but yeah, well, it happens about once a year. I get it. So I'm on some good drugs, and my voice is, nice and deep and gravelly. So maybe I'll get some commercials done with my gravelly voice. Other than that, life is good. I'm here and ready to go.
You are sounding like I did when I had bronchitis earlier this year, about 11 monmonths ago. Oh man, that was terrible. So I feel for you.
Yeah.
I ended up spending the night in the emergency room on New Year's Eve because it was so bad I couldn't breathe without coughing a lung up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty close to that. I've got some inhalers. I'm inhaling steroids, and you made a suggestion for a supplement. I got that. So, I'm vertical, which is good.
I still take that supplement because I don't know. It makes me feel stronger in my chest, even though I'm well. And it's for a lot of engineers watch the show. It's a over the counter supplement called N-acetylcysteine. And I'm not a doctor, so I can't recommend it or anything. I don't think it'll hurt you, but it has to do with the health of your cell walls, is my understanding. So anyway, I like it. It makes me feel a little bit better every day. But so does coffee. So there you go. All right. Hey, let's bring in our guest. Our guest is a gentleman we've had on the show a couple times before, usually from the NAB show in Las Vegas or from the Public Radio Engineering Conference, the PREC in Las Vegas. And that's Pierre Lonewolf. Pierre, welcome in. It's so good to see you.
Thank you. Good to be here. Got me out of work for a while.
Well, where are you? You look like in a place where a lot of work gets done.
Well, this is my home office that my wife keeps barred, so it can't expand out from where I am. But I do manage to sneak snuff out into the living room to work on things while I'm watching TV with her. But this is all those old things called paper.
We're going to talk about our friends from Nautel in a couple of minutes. But first, Pierre, I want you to describe for me and for our audience and for Chris, tell us where you are. You're in the USA, but it's the edge of the USA. Tell us about where your home is.
All right. I am sitting here in Kotzebue, Alaska. It's in the northwest Arctic of Alaska. We're 30 miles above the Arctic Circle. We're about 200 miles east of Chukotka, which is the Russian Far East. And we're 550 air miles northwest of Anchorage. So the only way to get in here is by plane or a boat or a snow machine in the winter, you know.
Wow. That's and you guys are you guys on the ocean, on the sea right there?
Yes, we're Kotzebue is located on a peninsula. Its traditional name is Kikitagruk, which means almost an island. And with the way global warming is going, we might be an island pretty soon. But anyway, we're in Kotzebue Sound, which is right off the Bering Straits, where it's between Russia and the U.S.
Broadcasting there has got to be interesting, and that's what I want to hear about. A lot of us who are my age, maybe a little bit younger, maybe a little bit older, remember the TV show Northern Exposure and the radio station they had on Northern Exposure. And for the first, 17 seasons, they didn't even have the microphone plugged in properly. You could look at old episodes and see that. But we're going to find out about broadcasting in Alaska, which is always fascinating to me. We've had a couple of guests from Alaska on the show, but I think that Pierre is in one of the harsher areas. Right now, we're going to take a quick break here from Nautel, or actually, I'll tell you about some things at Nautel going on. And I wonder if sometime in the next few minutes, if our producer, Suncast, and thank you for Suncast for coming in and doing an extra job today and producing our show on a Tuesday. If you could get a Google map, I meant to download, and I guess I didn't, a Google map of where Kotzebue is so that we can take a look at that. So you can throw that up and everybody get a good idea of where this place is. Or if you do a little quick Google search, I downloaded one, it didn't download right, some aerial views of Kotzebue. It's just fascinating to live in this harsh environment way out on a peninsula. So I'll ask Suncast to have a look around for a couple of pictures. Now, Nautel. Well, the Transmission Talk Tuesdays are back on now. And in fact, we did one today. My boss, Cam Eicher at Telos Alliance, we joined Jeff Welton for Transmission Talk Tuesday on this Tuesday as we're recording, November the 22nd, talked about virtualization and containerization. And next week, they've got another good topic coming up on November 29th. Transmission Talk Tuesday will be about IT security. And this is from a real practical point of view. Not a lot of theory, but it'll be here's what you can do to improve your IT security or to keep yourself as safe as you can from some of these ransomware or other malware that's going on. Now, here's what you do. You need to go to nautel.com/webinars. Nautel.com/webinars and click on Transmission Talk Tuesday. Nautel's done a great job of providing this service to us in the broadcast community. There you go. That's the website you want to go to and click on Transmission Talk Tuesday. You can see they've got 3 more coming up this year, November 29th, December 13th, and December 20th. 20th is going to be kind of a party. So the 29th, you want to register for that. Easy to register, and I love the way they handle this. They send you a reminder the day before, and then they send you one more reminder an hour before, because if you sign up for it, you're interested in it, hey, be sure that you attend. But Jeff Welton will be along with some guests for Transmission Talk Tuesday. And in fact, that's going to be Shane Toven and Matt Herden are going to be the guests for November the 29th. Questions you should be asking about IT security with Shane and Matt. All right, check it out. Thanks, Nautel. Nautel.com/webinars. Appreciate Nautel's support of this show, This Week in Radio Tech, and the broadcasting industry writ large, and us engineers. All right, we're here with Chris Tarr. He is recovering from bronchitis, and Pierre Lonewolf is along with us as well from Kotzebue, Alaska. And Suncast is going to be getting a couple pictures ready for. Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's northern part of the peninsula. That's our airport, and that's what it looks like in the summer. Yes, where is that? Oh, that's by our pot shop. The green building on the left is our pot shop. And that's basically the spring breakup.
Wow. I'm sorry, did you say spring break or spring breakup?
Breakup. That's when the ice starts to go out in the spring after it warms up enough.
I don't see many bikinis there or anything.
I don't see many bikinis. Not too many Speedos.
When I first moved here, there was a woman who went out in the spring because the sun's up, really bright. You get a lot of ultraviolet. You go out there, dig a little indentation in the snow and put some insulation and she did have a bikini on, getting a tan. It's warm, because a lot of solar insulation. I never saw it personally, but I heard the rumors.
Oh my God!
Whatever it takes.
Well, so let's kind of start at your beginning. So Pierre, you grew up around in North Dakota. Somehow you made your way to Alaska and did you go there to do broadcast engineering?
Yes. I was after high school, I went to a Votech school in Mitchell, South Dakota, home of the Corn Palace. And that was for electrical construction and maintenance. Then I went to work for a line company in Wyoming. We did line work for oil wells and the Kerr-McGee coal mine. Then I went to Otter Tail Power Company. Then I decided to, I got to do something different. And I went to college for double E. And you shouldn't have your brothers, and you shouldn't be the only one with a car and money. So I went back home and mooched off the folks, which is traditional when you're young. And my dad, who had started a radio station on our reservation, KEYA in Belcourt, North Dakota, got tired of that. And he said, son, you want a job? Or I'll send you to school for it. And I said, where's the school at? San Francisco. I said, okay, I'll go. So that was one of the first class schools, that you memorized everything, took your FCC test, and I got my first class. Went back and worked for my dad at KEYA, and I think my paycheck was $70 a week, but I lived at home. So that went on till 81. Then I went to WOJB in Wisconsin, which was a 100,000 watt FM there on the Lakuta Ray Reservation. And a shout out to Cliff Gross, who's from Wisconsin. He was a great mentor, by the way. I forgot to mention Cliff a while back. But yeah, he's still in Wisconsin. Then 83, I came to Alaska. A guy who had worked at the radio station at KEYA in Belcourt that my father had hired was Len Anderson. He was a really good radio guy and a writer and stuff. And he came north first. Then KOTZ here in Kotzebue needed an engineer. He called me up. I said, yeah, have him call me. So Brad Reeve, who was the manager then, called me up and said, talk to me. I said, yeah, I'll load up and drive up. And he said, no, I'll send you a plane ticket. And of course, this was pre-World Wide Web. So I said, I gotta find me an atlas. So I looked it up on the atlas and found out where it was. My mother was kind of, what? You're going to go there? I said, yeah, why not? So they sent me a plane ticket. I got here on August 11th, about 1:30 in the afternoon. And I've been here ever since.
Wow. Okay. Wow. And you engineer for KOTZ. Tell me about that station. Is that like a community or a public station?
It's a public radio station. My career has been spent with public radio or Native American radio stations. KOTZ was started in 74 or 5? I can't remember, but it's around there. And first there was a 5 kilowatt station. Then we had the ND1 or ND10 rule. Or anyway, the FCC said we could do 10 kilowatts 24 hours a day. And that was in 1986. We bought our first Nautel transmitter and went that. But we're a public radio station. When I first moved here, there was not many phones in the villages. There was one at like the clinic, and people would rotate shifts. Somebody got a call to that village, they'd go get them, and the AT&T was this building out, and phone companies and co-ops are coming. Now, pretty much we got phone service. But when I first started, there was hardly any phone, so we would send out messages to people over the air. Say, I'm sending this, or meet me here, or we're out hunting, search and rescue things, really involved in the community. Mm-hmm. And we're still that way. Of course, technology's changed and we have to adjust. Now, people email us the messages instead of calling up and we'd write it down. Most of it is, via email or texting, SMS messaging. And we still have the hardcore dedicated call-in person or the person who still wants to fax us things. But for pretty much everything's been, done with email and texting and things like that. But we still do the same job. We have a lot less people, of course, but we're still doing that. And we have translators in every one of our villages, Red Dog Mine. So we get out that way. And, we pass information, weather, entertainment, education. And that's pretty much what we do. We do remotes. Basketball, of course, is big. Gospel singing, in each village. When we do our fundraiser, we go out, cover that. Anything that the community needs, it's what we do.
Yeah. So you're part of the glue that kind of holds things together. A common place where people, exchange information, and hopefully, they hear the information too, because you get it out. Do you have one transmitter? AM, FM? What are your facilities like there?
Well, currently we have a new Nautel that I just put in, last year or 2 years ago. What is it? NX AM? God. It's a 10 kilowatt Nautel. I just put it in last year. And before that, we had DX10. And before that, we had a ND10 from Nautel. We got our first solid state in 1986. Wow. And we've been solid state since then, simply because of the power cost in those years. It's been pretty stable, but we paid for that solid state transmitter, I think, less than a year with the power savings.
Oh, my goodness. Here, I was looking at my power bill, and my power here in Tennessee is about 11 and a half cents per kilowatt hour. Chris, do you happen to know what your power costs there in Wisconsin?
That's pretty close to what we're paying.
Nearly. Right, okay. Mine is 41 cents a kilowatt hour.
Oh, wow. And
that's
4 times.
And I'm on the board of Kotzebue Electric Association as a co-op. And 41 cents is what we pay. And in Alaska, we get a thing called power cost equalization. This was a deal made years ago with the politicians in Anchorage, with the rural folks got the money for all these dams and power projects. And us, the urban folks, you should say, us rural folks had to get something. Because politicians make deals. I'll give you this, you give me that. The way it went. And so we get a kind of like, I guess, underwriting, you might call it, a rebate or whatever, that helps to keep our electrical costs within reason. My electrical cost per month is probably $180, $200 a month, depending on what I do.
Okay.
And it's not bad for here.
Yeah. I think 35 or 40 cents is about what we pay in American Samoa, but there it's all generated by diesel generators. A dozen of them running in the power plant, so it's a lot of noise and a lot of smoke and fumes. We're talking to Pierre Lonewolf. He's the engineer at KOTZ in Kotzebue, Alaska. We're going to be talking to him, and Chris Tarr's with us as well, about some of the things that he's doing, projects and other. We were just getting into his other facilities, but we're going to continue that conversation in just a minute. This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part by some folks halfway around the world from where Pierre is, and that's in England, and that's Broadcast Bionics, but their products and software are available everywhere. Let's check it out. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Bionic Studio. The Bionic Studio brings all audience interaction to the fingertips of a production team in radio, TV, and podcast. Our workflow-led system is working 24/7 around the world for small broadcasters and national and international networks. Our telephony module, Bionic Talk Show, allows cost-effective centralization, remote operation, scalability, and resilience across an entire network of stations, but at the same time is used in single studio self-op environments. Social media curation and activity is now considered a broadcast critical part of programming. Bionic Social means the studio isn't overwhelmed with a wall of interaction from an ever-growing number of social platforms. We combine SMS, MMS and email together with a speech-to-text service for listeners using smart speakers. We enable studio teams to curate, filter and display all platforms in one place and post text, images and video content to multiple platforms in one operation. Effortless collection of video content with Bionic Director has helped position some of the world's most successful stations as leaders in viral content, generating appointments to listen and free marketing via retweets and shares. Bionic Contest enables end-to-end tracking of on-air competitions, live reads and prizes. These could be on-air contests, automated SMS entry or online. Anywhere, and Skype TX for Radio brings high-quality audio and video contribution into the studio with ease. No need for dedicated PCs to run different applications. Everything is controlled within the Bionic Studio UI, and incoming connections are visible to users along with all other platforms. Our codec integration enables connection, algorithm configuration, and directory to a wide range of IP and ISDN codecs. The Bionic Studio, a unique suite of products designed to enable your talent to work smarter.
Broadcast Bionics at bionics.co.uk. Please check them out. They make software that'll really help you out. Anything from something as small as their wall clock that puts information up there to talk show systems and talk show control systems that work with Telos VX, and then all that Bionic Studio stuff that helps surface social media and other information right there for you to help your jocks do a better job on the air. Thanks a lot, Broadcast Bionics, for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. We're with Chris Tarr and Pierre Lonewolf here. And Pierre, I started to ask you, what other facility, what you have? You have an AM at 720 kilohertz. Is that right?
That's correct. We have AM at 720 kilohertz, 10 kilowatts out, quarter wave antenna. We also have an FM, KINU, that's 100 watts. We run HD on that. We've been running HD for how long? Quite a while. 8 years at least. Yeah. And we're going to be replacing the old original HD equipment from Nautel with the new combo unit that's in one box that, I don't have to have so many boxes in a rack and get confused where everything goes.
I know this is late breaking for Suncast. I've just added some more pictures to the album, and some of them are transmitters and also a spectrograph. There's Suncast. Just as soon as you can pop something up. Again, I'm sorry, I just added them because I just found them during our break with Broadcast Bionics. So, Pierre, you're running IBOC HD radio on your AM, is what I saw in one picture. Is that correct?
Yes. I just turned that on, maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months. We had it originally with our DX10. That was in 2006. We had that running, but there's only like 2 radios, and I had them both. So through the years, I've managed to collect them, and I've been giving them out. There's the little, we had the little, I'm going to say Sangians. I've got some of those I've given out around town, so people really like it, if they're aware of it. We, of course, we've got the newer cars in town with HD.
Oh, yeah.
And,
okay.
And so I've been running the HD, and I gave a couple of the HD radios, and people said, wow, the AM really sounds good. I said, yes, it does, doesn't it? So, I can't wait for us to go all digital AM. I'm a proponent of all digital FM. Let's move on and get that going, because people like it. They don't kind of understand it, because a lot of my older listeners like a dial that they can minimize control. And I just think, our radio designer people have not really done a good job of designing the interface for HD radio.
Yeah.
So, and we should have did digital, AM digital at least 10 years ago. The FCC should have said, okay, this is your sunset date. Let's get it over with. But, let the market decide, and the market never did decide.
We've got a
it's
picture
interesting
here
because there's
I'm
a
sorry,
lot
go ahead,
of.
Chris, go ahead.
I say it's interesting because there's a lot of people, especially in the engineering side, who basically, just poo-poo HD radio in all forms. And what you're seeing, Pierre, is what I've been saying for a long time, which is, there's not a lot of adoption and people aren't aware of it, but the people who have tried it really like it. People who have sampled what HD radio has to offer actually, really want to get a radio and listen to it. So, I think there's something there. It's just, as you mentioned, manufacturing of the radios is the design is kind of poor, and there's just not a lot of adoption yet. But I think we look at it technically and go, oh, it's awful, but to the average listener, when I hand them a radio and I said put this on, they really like it. It's really amazing.
We've got this spectrograph picture here, or a spectrum analyzer picture. There we go. Pierre, could you tell us what we're looking at right here on your AM?
Okay, basically this is our Natel transmitter, and you've got the center spike, that's our analog signal, and you have the two side bands, which contains the HD digital information. And people have told me, once I bring a radio to them and let them listen between the two, they're amazed at the clarity. I mean, it's not that much of a bandwidth for the AM signal, but they're amazed at the audio quality that they can get with this signal. If it was all digital, I'd be happy. But, I have to educate people. One of my next things to do is go out to the villages with my little HD radio and see if I can pick it up, 50, 60, 30, 40, 70 miles away, and see what happens.
Well, you started to answer my next question, and you obviously Kotzebue is fairly small. 10 kilowatts has no trouble covering that area. You can catch it, in inside your Faraday cage if you got one.
Yeah.
But how far out are you trying to hit villages? And you said 50, 60, 70 miles.
I hope it'll go, 50, 60 miles. That covers most of our villages. We've got 3 villages upriver that are 160 miles upriver. And with our terrain, there's not going to be a ground wave signal to reach them. So those we do, satellite links, which are problematic with us right now. But if I can get it within a 50, 60 mile range, I can just put an HD radio in with an antenna, probably something by Inolonics, and just run that instead of a satellite link or internet link. And, if it's reliable, we'll save some money and get the job done.
These other villages, do you typically have translators or other FM transmitters in those villages? Yes,
we do. We have basically their FM transmitter crowns. Right now, we just bought some more VS300s that I got to go run out and put in and take the crowns back in. But they're all, what are they? 10, 20 waters, cover a village that's, barely a mile across with 200-300 people, so we've got those, and we use the IRM 610s to feed them through an internet account. And for some reason, some villages work better than the others. Don't ask me why, because nobody's been able to figure it out. Some work better than others. And I'll get a call, the radio's off, and I'll sign in and just reboot the IRM 610, and it starts again. So I'm thinking it's a network issue that says we're not letting you through because you've been on so long, something like that.
If it makes you feel better, I had to do that this morning with one of mine here in town. So it's not necessarily a problem with where you're at. I have an internet link at one of my sites and woke up this morning and there was no audio. It had to reboot the codec. So I think that's a problem just about everywhere.
Yeah. It's one of the issues we have is not so much jitter. It's, the time for the signal to come to us, 60, 70, 80 milliseconds. What is it, jitter? Oh, I can't remember it now. I'm getting old. But jitter doesn't ping. It's not too bad. It depends on the connection. We've actually got a fiber connection here in Kotzebue. So it's pretty good. So that's the reason why this connection is not too bad. But, for us, it's not too bad. Villages is a whole entire different story because that's a satellite link for the internet. So you got a quarter second going up, quarter second going down, network delays just from the network it's going through and stuff. So it can be problematic that way. I long for the old single channel carrier days.
Do you have people in different villages that kind of handle technical stuff for you? Like I need something rebooted or just, kind of a triage person, or is that really all land on you?
Some places, yes. Most, no. I've been trying to say we need to get some good, smart teenager in the village and bring them in here, and I'll show them all they need to do to maintain the connection, and we'll send them a T-shirt and a hat and a sweatshirt every year or something. But generally, it's me going out to fix a 5-minute problem that costs us $600 for a round-trip airplane, If it's a close village like Norbik, that's 30, 40 miles away, I could jump on the snow machine, but anything longer than that, I don't want to go across the sea ice down to like Buckland and Deering. I'm not an ocean guy, I'm a terrestrial guy.
Speaking of snow machine, Suncast, we've got a picture of Pierre's transport for the closer stuff. Maybe you could pop that picture up, and there we go.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about this.
That's my pony Neumann. I put a Neumann sticker on from the last NAB show because I like their mics. We've pretty much exclusively gone to Neumann mics in our studios.
Nice. Wow. How long will that thing go on a tank of gas?
Depending on the snow conditions and the trail. That's an 11-gallon tank. It's a 2-stroke, so I probably get about 13, 14 gallons, depending on if I'm hauling a load. I'd say 120 miles reliably. But you got to watch the conditions. Yeah. Because it depends a lot on what kind of snow you're traveling through, the load you're carrying and stuff, And if it's a long trip, like up to Ambler, I'd be carrying another 15 gallons of gas and a tent and all kinds of stuff,
You're good at answering my questions before I even ask them. Do you ever carry extra gasoline with you? And, yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Everybody. I mean, within like no attack, you can fill up your snowmobile and no attack, and that's a 50-mile ride. You generally don't need any more. But if you're going out hunting, when I used to do that a lot, I'd go up on the upper Noatak River into the Mayumeric Mountains. I'd carry 15, 20 gallons of gas, get to the spot where I'd camp and leave it there, then just go, wander around looking for things. But generally now with 4-strokes, you can get 18 miles to the gallon on a 4-stroke. But it all depends on the trail and the load you're carrying.
Sure. It varies a lot with that. By the way, is it? Are you guys in darkness all day long now, or how much sunlight do you have, if any?
No. Let me see. The sun will be going down. Let's see. We're in December. 11th? I think the sun goes at right below the horizon. We're not like Barrow where it's totally dark. It's still kind of like dimly showing over the horizon, And then it's, what's that, a month or so or something like that. It's not that bad,
Suncast has another picture of, looks like an AM transmitter showing the power output. So Suncast, when you get a chance to show that LCD display, and we can have Pierre brag about how much reflected power there isn't.
Well, see, that reflected power was at 1. And when the ground started freezing, and I had to do some work on the ground system, it had 3 straps on it. Now it's only got 1 because the tundra was sinking on one side, it was raising on the other, so it was ripping the copper straps. So I said, okay, I'll fix 1 to make sure it works through everything. And when the ground froze, that's when it went up to 10 watts, which is not bad for 10 kilowatts.
No. So you had 1 watt reflected until the strap broke.
Yeah. We have a Kintronic. We have a Contronics ATU that Steve Lockwood came up years ago when we put in that DX10 in 2006 and it tuned it up. I had tuned it up to where I was happy with it, but he brought his old network analyzer and got that baby down to 1.
My goodness. Explain to Chris and me about tundra and about heaving and how it makes your life miserable or good, whichever it may be.
Okay, tundra is a combination of plants, frozen ice, plants on top, and below that it's sand, gravel, frozen ice lenses, seawater, fresh water, all kinds of combinations. And in the old days, it pretty much stayed pretty much frozen. While since the advent of global warming, there's spots in the tundra that go down, spots that go up, spots that disappear, lakes that dry up, and we're getting less snow. I know in the old days we used to get some really 2, 3, 4 feet of snow on the tundra. And what that does is it, as it melts in the spring, it helps insulate the permafrost underneath the vegetation mat. Well, there's less and less snow. So what happens is that the temperature raise goes farther down into the tundra where they had the snow that insulated it and the vegetation insulates it. It's not happening anymore. So what happens is it starts melting on the bottom, turns into muck, gunk, slime, and anything you can think of. And so it's a challenge to keep things where they're supposed to be. We have, what do we spend on our pilings? We have special insulated pilings for our AM tower that go down 80 feet, filled with nitrogen gas and stuff. And those things have been remarkably stable since 1986. So you have to deal with it. Generally, if you want a pad to stay unmoving, you insulate it. You throw down, fiber, a cloth, then you start throwing insulation on it. Then you put the gravel on it because it insulates underneath to where heat doesn't transfer and stuff. And that's one of the issues that a lot of people will be dealing with all over the northern Arctic.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine that's got to be tough dealing with tower bases and guy anchor point. You do have guy anchor points, or is it a self-supporting tower?
Guy anchor points. Actually, those haven't been a problem. The surveyor came out and checked everything, checked the tower, and wow, this is pretty stable. I said, yeah, we spent enough money on it. It should be stable. The problem I had is the fence. Because we did, they had that specification for 10,000 watts of RF. It had to be so far out from the tower base. So we did that. And it looked cool. It looked great, man. I was proud of my site, as everybody used to come see it. Man, this is a nice site. Yeah, it is. And then it started sinking. And my fence started leaning. And I remember when we did the fence first time, I wanted pilings, down in the 4 corners and 2 for the gate. And it turned down on that. So now my fence goes in, out, up and down. And it's just a chore. So we're going to go out probably this coming spring with a bobcat, and I'll clear everything off, and I'm going to lay down some cloth and start throwing insulation down. Then we'll grab gravel and just try to stabilize the area around my transmitter belting and tower base for my ATU and for me tripping all over things.
And I know what you mean by a bobcat, and that does bring us to, after our commercial break here, when we come back, talk about animals and what's different in Alaska. Of course, we see pictures of Alaska. We see a lot of snow and ice and gravel, and it's hard to imagine there being animals there, but there are, and people too. And you started to tell us about that early in the show. Chris Tarr is here, little bronchitis and Chris, although Chris, you asked some good questions. Pierre Lonewolf is our guest today. Our show, This Week in Radio Tech, episode 620, is brought to you in part by Broadcasters General Store and Broadcast Tools. Broadcast Tools makes a lot of things that we as engineers just find invaluable. And one of those things is this Audio Sentinel for the web. You got to check this thing out. Suncast is going to bring the web page up here in just a second. This is the Audio Sentinel for web. It's a web-based 4-channel stereo or 8 mono-channel silence monitor. All 4 stereo inputs are balanced and feature pluggable screw block and standard RJ45 audio inputs. Those are wired in parallel for ease of wiring, and each stereo input can be configured for out-of-phase monitoring in addition to silence monitoring on the input, and they can be also configured as 2 separate mono channels to give you separate mono. Chris, you're familiar with this device, aren't you?
I am. We have them in many of our sites, and they're just fantastic because, one of the things we ran into is we had an older version of a silent sensor that just kind of had a trim pot, and you really didn't know if you had a level setting optimal or not. So we get to quiet passages and songs, and it would do a false alert and everything else. These, you log into the web, there's a VU meter. You can see how the audio is doing, and it will email you upon any kind of failure. So really great boxes. I probably have, 4 or 5 of them, and we'll be putting more in.
Yeah. These are from Broadcast Tools. And so the one thing that I notice about Don Wingett and his designs at Broadcast Tools is they are solid. They're compact, solid. There's nothing there you don't need and everything that you do need. And just as Chris described, it's easy to set the level, the time period for the silence. And so you can monitor, again, 4 stereo sources, including phase reversals, or you can monitor up to 8 mono sources or any combination there in between. And of course, you can monitor over an IP network, whether it's a private network or the public internet. You have remote access into this box. You have HTML5 web browser, so that's really nice. You don't have to get a special app from the App Store for each device, so you can log in from anywhere. I mean, maybe you're in a hotel room or even on a public computer. You want to erase your tracks, but you can log into this thing and give it the right credentials and check it out. That's not the only thing that Broadcast Tools has. Broadcast Tools has more and more devices that are web enabled, so you can access them from anywhere you want. Or set up yourself VPN if you want to keep it behind some protected firewall. You can do that too, and probably a good idea. Or just keep it on your private network. Any way that you want to handle that part, you certainly can. And Broadcast Tools just makes this cool stuff that again makes our lives easier. They make products to monitor your web stream, your audio levels like this one, phase reversals if somebody's still accidentally putting in something that's bad that way, and of course the usual array of control and switching and distribution electronics. Broadcast Tools offers that. And of course, the place to get them is from Broadcasters General Store. Their website is bgs.cc. But you know what? The folks at Broadcaster General Store, they're really set up to take your phone calls. Now, I don't know, in this day and age, a lot of us, just like the web. We like to go to the web and get a price or even place an order. But it's refreshing to give them a call and talk to people whose, their business is set up around talking to you and making sure that, hey, what you want, well, let's say it's not in stock, but it's going to be 2 weeks or maybe a month, or maybe there's an alternative product that's going to help you out. If you call Broadcaster General Store, they have people there. Jonathan Shute, for example. I was just talking to Jonathan last week. What a brilliant young man Jonathan is. He just does great at helping broadcasters pick out the right equipment and make sure they get delivery as soon as possible. And I always say they've got sharp pencils at Broadcasters General Store. Sometimes I buy things from them, and sometimes I'm a little bit amazed. I'll look at the quote I get from them, and I'm accidentally looking at the list price quote. I'm thinking, well, this is no discount. And then I go look over at my discount. Holy moly. They really do have sharp pencils and good deals at Broadcasters General Store. 352-622-7700. I've got that committed to memory, but you might want to write it down or just go to their websites right there at the top of their website. 352-622-7700 for Broadcasters General Store. And a big shout out to Jessica there and Candace and Jonathan and Buck and Shane, all my favorite folks there. Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech and Don Wingett too over at Broadcast Tools. All right, we are here with Chris Tarr and Pierre Lonewolf. Pierre, transmitter sites, Alaska, really cold, and animals. What kind of polar bears are you feeding up there?
Well, we do Kotzebue used to be the polar bear capital hunting of the world back in the 60s and the 70s. We had all kinds of people show up here, Roy Rogers, the Shah of Iran, and all that stuff. But that ended a while back. Once in a while, we'll get a polar bear that comes into town. My neighbor got one across at Sasolic, and we had one wandering up the beach a couple years ago that they chased out of town, So, yeah, we get polar bears, but, not all that often. We got grizzlies on the peninsula. People, my in-laws, they're always yelling about the grizzlies that come around their camp down on the peninsula. But generally, they seem to coexist okay. People kind of get bent out of shape out of them. Old bears and young bears, that's your problem ones there. The ones in between, they want to leave you alone and go eat someplace else. But when you're young and stupid, you make mistakes, and we're old and desperate, you make mistakes, and, that's on the bear side. We have muskox. Muskox have scared me a few times in the middle of the winter. Moose, wolves, lots of birds of all types, swans, seagulls. Believe it or not, seagulls are a big pain in the rear for
really?
me. Yeah. Out where a site is, it used to be a big nesting site. So when they're nesting, so you're getting seagulls diving at you constantly before the road was built, so. But the tundra's been drying out, so there's not that much nesting out there anymore. Besides, we have our big wind farm out there and our solar panel farm, so there's just too much activity for birds, We still get moose and caribou running through there every now and then. But, snow spiders, I've seen snow spiders, sky spiders, no ants yet. Found a grasshopper once. That surprised me.
Wow.
But other than that, it's pretty normal. I mean, for us here in the Northwest Arctic.
Wow. Do you get mosquitoes there?
Oh, yes. Lots and lots of mosquitoes. I'm one of those lucky people that, they bite me, but not as bad as some others. I just kind of tend to ignore them if they get bad, put on some gloves and a hairnet, and that's about it. Some people, they get crazy.
You're just too tough. They take one bite and they say, nah, too tough.
Well, somebody told me that at that, who else was that talking to somebody? That in the old days when they caught an Indian, they would strip them and nail them out in the tundra for the mosquitoes to kill. That'd be a bad way to go.
It'd be terrible.
That'd be a terrible way to go.
Well, speaking of people, and we'll talk about some nicer people. Chris Tarr's had some people at transmitter sites. I think he told a story on a previous episode about some folks camping out near a transmitter site. But Pierre, you said you had some very polite people or a person at a transmitter site, and otherwise hadn't been a problem.
Yeah, generally, I have a 2-door entrance, and the other one's a slide bolt, and the other one's a door lock in those days, But it was a blizzard, and it got so bad, that they just kind of lost their way to my transmitter building, and they just jumped in, They just kind of like jimmied the door open, and they left me a note, and I called them, okay, no problem, you're welcome to come in and keep from freezing to death. Well, it was a bad blizzard. I think it was like 30 below, and it's just started blowing, and you can't see. And so I'm more than happy for you to spend the night in there.
Wow. So is your AM transmitter site, is that separate from the studio?
Yes, it's let's say 4.5 miles on a heading of 178, 176. Almost straight south of us, yeah. And, it's tundra and tundra lakes and one road now. We have a road, which is nice, except that...
What's your method of STL?
Oh, it's a well, in the old days, we started out with a Mosley 950 analog.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have a Gates Air unit, which is digital, which I like.
Yeah.
They make a good product, The interface is pretty good too, My only mistake was We were supposed to get a fiber connection out there 2, 3, 4 years ago, which still hasn't shown up. So in order to save money on that SDL, I didn't get the bidirectional one that cost, 2, 3 times more. So I'm still waiting for that fiber link. If you're going to buy an SDL, buy something that's bidirectional.
Yeah, in fact, well, that's been one of the benefits of IP links is you get the audio, or telemetry or whatever you need back over the same link. Hey, we've got a few more pictures that you can tell us about. Suncast is going to pop up pictures. I think we have some studio pictures certainly have some satellite dishes. I guess there's a studio hiding behind the satellite dishes. So let's see. Oh, here's a transmitter. Let's just look at this one first. What's this?
That's our FM KINU FM transmitter. And there you see the HD portion, under it. And right below that is an Omnia 5, if I remember. And we got that Omnia 5 in 2006.
It's been a while.
And it's chugging along. Never had any issues with that thing. It's it's heavy, though.
Yes, it is. Oh, yeah.
It's heavy, so it's a 2-man lift on that one. Yes, there's our signal coverage, as you can see. KOTZ in the upper left-hand side. We go over to Chukchi, Russian Far East, and those little islands between the U.S. and Russian Far East is Diomede. There's Diomede, Big Diomede, and Little Diomede. Big Diomede belongs to the Russians, Little Diomede to the United States.
Wow. And I take it that even though the coverage area is not a circle because there's seawater there, and that's extending the coverage, it's a single tower, non-directional, right?
Single tower, non-directional. That's correct.
Yeah. Wow. That seawater really helps out. You can see from the other signals too, like in the Aleutian Islands.
Yeah. They get a lot of guys. Yeah. And this is our studio right here. That old dish that's on those stilts. If you guys remember Wayne Hetrick from way back when, National Public Radio, when they did this. When the satellite project rolled out way back when with NPR, that's what they had to do to get a signal, get it above the ground, because our look angle here is 1.5 degrees above the horizon for 99 West.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
And that dish underneath it, that's for the state system called ARCS, and we get the Alaska Public Radio Network news, and the ARC system is broadcasting digital, which I take care of the transmitter. So we have 4 channels on the low-power TV that's here in Kotzebue that I help take care of for those guys.
Wow. Let's see. We have another picture, too, I think, of the studio. Yeah, not just a different shot.
Yeah, there we go. The dish on the left, that's the dish for the cable television guys, but I don't think it's operational anymore. And the next one over is our state dish, and the one on the top is the next one over is a microdyne on the stilts. Remember microdyne way back when?
I do.
Now and that dish right below that one on the stilts, that was our Associated Press dish when we carried AP way back when. And the dish on the right is a 9.3 meter Andrews dish that we used to get our National Public Radio signals.
Oh my goodness. Wow. And that is, oh, wow. Oh, what?
And there's, and this is Kotzebue from the air. I think I might even took that picture. Yeah, probably did. But that's Kotzebue right there. What you see is the Kotzebue Sound going out to the Chukchi Sea, then to the Bering Straits. We're about 200 miles there. And what you see there is tundra, all that water and vegetation. That's tundra. And those 2 towers, you see those 2 towers, those red and white towers? We used to be on there. That's a non-directional beacon. And we used to be diplexed with them. KOTZ we had a 5 kilowatt then. It was a Gates BC5H, the first AM transmitter I worked on. But it was diplexed together, and I knew nothing about AM tuners or anything. And this was before the internet, so I was on a lot of phone calls with were they Hammett and Edison, if you remember them. I think they're out of San Francisco. Dane Erickson. So, he helped me walk through the math and all that stuff on antenna tuning units and that diplexer. And we were on there till 1986 with that flat top T antenna. It had surprisingly good coverage.
Huh. And that's also an NDB for the airport?
Yeah, it's got a 356 kilohertz non-directional beacon, and that was the first time I saw a Nautel transmitter. Because Nautel knows. And I knew the guy who worked on them, so he showed me the transmitter. I said, geez, I like this thing.
Wow. So I'm curious, and Chris may want to chime in here too. We're drawing toward the end of our show here, but I'd like to know, what are you looking forward to technology wise that will continue to help you guys complete your mission, or work your mission of getting reliable audio coverage out to people who live out in the country, like Kotzebue, and then all the surrounding towns that you mentioned. What are you looking for technology to do to help you out?
Well, I want us to get on an all digital standard for AM and FM and get that over with. Certainly, I hope that they'll start making decent radios again for the public. When you look at it, the radios are not that great unless you spend $200, $300, $400 like Tivoli's and Bose, their sound stuff. But I would think we should be able to make a radio that is fairly, cheap, but has good performance. Interfaces in the radios nowadays, because it's not just a dial. Car stuff is pretty neat, but it's a lot of a screen for a home radio, I would think. Kids nowadays listen to their world on their phone. So we'll be getting the Broadcast Bionics social thing as soon as the boss gives you the money, because that's where our future listeners are at. And even old people. I look at Facebook once in a while. I don't tweet, but so we've got to have a presence on that, and we have younger kids doing the stuff nowadays at the station, and they pick it up, a lot faster. We have one old announcer that's been there for 40 years that, I have to make accommodations for, but that's okay. He volunteers. If he did it for 40 years, I'll do whatever I have to keep him going. Consoles. On the console side, I've been looking at we've got a bunch of little Rode podcaster consoles. Yeah. And I've been thinking, why don't we hook those babies up and send them to people who want to volunteer, announce a show, remote broadcasting, I guess, things like that. Everything's voice over IP. We have Wheatstone Blades system, So all that networking stuff. User interfaces are one of my big things, that it has to be intuitive, like the Stream Deck, those little Stream Decks with the buttons that you can put a picture on, all that stuff. We'll be doing, I emailed those guys and said I want a 1-inch button, because you can have a little more information that's easier to hit if you're not directly looking at it. I'm really into making a good environment for the announcer, where they have all the information. It has to be comfortable, within reach. Do not design for 6'3", 4, 5, like I had a tendency to do years ago. I'm like a 5'5" designer, So, I really think that if you give the announcer a pleasant, good, reliable working environment, the shows are better. Show them how to use stuff, especially mic technique. If you remember the old days when guys went to radio schools, they learned how to do miking and, production, kept on the time and stuff. Nowadays, kids are a whole lot different when they think they can be an announcer. They have to throw in every sound effect on the planet when they do a 30-second PSA. So, it's just getting used to the generational changes, I'm 67 now. I hope to find some youngster that likes music, likes technology, computers, and doesn't necessarily have to climb anymore. Those days are gone for me. But somebody that can step in and take over and, be flexible enough to learn about all this stuff.
A lot of us are in the same boat. A lot of people are, but I'm glad you're looking forward and thinking about the user experience for your announcers and thinking about how to let them do things from home when that's a good option for them. And hey, we got to take a break here real quick. When we come back, Pierre, we're going to have time for you to leave us with some words of wisdom, maybe a tip of the week, something that you wish for, hope for, use, something that's useful to you, something you'd like to pass along to our audience as a parting word. This week in Radio Tech, it's our 620th episode, and Pierre Lonewolf from Kotzebue, Alaska. I'm delighted with his internet connection too. It's looking good. So glad to have Pierre along. Chris Tarr is here as the spokesperson for Angry Audio. Chris, what you got for us?
So I was talking with Mike Dosh, who runs Angry Audio. I was talking to him the other day, and he put some teasers on the internet. They're not on his site yet, of a USB codec. And people were going crazy wanting to know more. So I've got the information. I went and I stealthily snuck in. I got the details, and I can tell you all about it. So this is, your basic USB digital and analog input and output sound card, external sound card, audio interface. One of the things that he worked really, really hard on is a problem that we all have, and we've all heard it, where you plug in an audio codec and you hear a whine through the audio. Just a very soft, high-pitched whine, and it's interference coming in through the USB cable. And people have been fighting that for years with toroids and all different kinds of things. I know I've fought with it quite a bit. You go in your monitors and you can hear the squeal from that. He solved that problem. He was able to come up with a transformer that solves that problem. So for $299, you can get the USB gizmo. It's got analog and digital in, USB out, plugs into your console, plugs into your computer, whatever you need. And it provides clean, pristine audio, and it's bus powered. You don't need to bring a power cord or a power brick or anything else with you. You plug it into your computer, it's bus powered, you are ready to go. So it's great for traveling if you want to go and do voice work while you're on the road or something like that. And again, the biggest thing, I was just so excited when he told me this, no more hums and squeals. It is quiet. $299. He'll have it on the site pretty soon. It will be released very soon, as well as some other cool new things that we're going to talk about here in the coming weeks. He's been busy. He's been in the lab working on some great stuff. But I know a lot of people on the on Facebook especially have been talking about this audio interface that he was teasing. And so we talked about it, and we got the details on that. So coming soon to you from Angry Audio, it is the USB audio. I got to get it right. Because there's gizmos and there's gadgets. This is a gizmo. So the USB audio gizmo, digital and analog in and out to USB, clean audio, no hums, no whistles, no buzzing, nothing like that. Bus powered, bring it with you wherever you go. They are solving problems. So when you have a problem that needs to be solved, don't get frustrated. Get angry. Angry Audio.
When a problem comes along, you must whip it.
That's right.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Chris. And I'm sure because of your relationship with Angry Audio that you'll probably have one of the very first few that are available.
I also have some things that they're working on that I've been playing with that are going to be exciting. Let's put it that way.
All right. Good deal. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Angry Audio at angryaudio.com for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. Our show is also brought to you by these guys at Max Connect Wireless. Josh Bone, thank you for your work in setting up this system for broadcasters to use. It is prioritized packet delivery to static IP address devices in the field. And let's hear more about this from Gary Morrill.
I'm Gary Morrill, Midwest Regional Director of Engineering for Alpha Media. When I first spoke with Josh Bone about Max Connect, he told me they'd work great for remote transmitter sites where connectivity was a challenge. And he's absolutely right. We even have sites where we're using this as a backup to our STL using MaxConnect's dual carrier option, and it works perfectly. We also have times where we need to be able to get out to a venue where it's kind of challenging because everybody and his brother is trying to stream video at the same time, like at a big sporting event. And you know what? Our data gets through every time because it's prioritized packet data. It works for us. It'll work for you. MaxConnect. Check it out.
And this is like one of them right here. This is a PepWave 4G LTE modem, but doesn't matter what brand it is. There's Cradle Point and others too. But what makes a difference is the SIM card that goes inside. That's the key to MaxConnect Wireless. They have their own APNs, and I always forget what that stands for, but you know what? It gives you prioritized data on your favorite carrier, whether it's AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile. It works great. And we've used them before. We kept a station on the air that lost their STL connection just about 6 weeks ago. Kept WEVL on the air during their fundraiser. Oh, they had to be on the air. So we got right down there, put in the Max Connect, and they were back on the air. Thanks a lot for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. There's the website right there. Prioritized high-speed LTE data for your broadcast operations. All right, we are just finishing up our show with Pierre Lonewolf from Kotzebue, Alaska. Pierre, thank you so much for taking time out of your day with us. And I'm going to ask you, if you will please now invoke the words of wisdom from Pierre Lonewolf. What would you like to pass along to our listeners?
Okay, probably this is for younger engineers. I would say don't undervalue yourself. Buy quality tools. If you climb, get paid for it, and remember to go home at night.
There you go. Those are all good words. Indeed, indeed. Chris, Tarr, I know you're under the weather, sir. You want to leave us with a word of wisdom? Don't get sick.
I wish I had something other than don't get sick, because it's awful. But that's all I've got. Don't get sick. It just and I'm a big baby too when I get sick, because I don't get sick very often. So when I get sick, I'm like this big, I don't want to get out of bed. Leave me alone. I'm just a big whiner. I'm a big baby.
I will leave these words of wisdom, and they're pretty predictable, but man, it's so helpful and important. This past week, 10 days or so, my business partner, Larry Fuss, along with a fantastic contract engineer, Russ Lafferty from Kentucky, have been in American Samoa, along with our station manager there, Joey Cummings, and they've been doing a lot of hands-on work, getting things done and working. We even had to swap out a Ubiquiti Airfiber 5 IP radio. Ours happened to bite the dust at the time that Russ Lafferty was there, so I was able to take a backup file of the previous Airfiber 5 that I had made just a few weeks before and push that into the new backup Airfiber 5. And my point in all this is I did a lot of work remotely. And thanks to technologies available that let us have remote control of computers and that let us then reach out across our LAN at the station and configure things. Configured a new streaming service that we're doing. While Russ was there, he configured an HD2 station for us that's feeding a translator. And so it was. Those are just a couple examples. I did a lot more work than that. So we got a lot of things going between some hands-on expertise from Larry, Russ, and Joey, and me working remotely. It was a real pleasure to get things going. And since they got the hardware, put in place, bolted down, locked in, things like that, I was able to remotely be very helpful to them and move things along quickly. So remote access is so helpful and so important. Whatever you can do while you're at a station to enable secure remote access so that you can do things remotely. And the equipment, of course, we have all AOIP gear right there, so I'm able to configure just about anything. I even configured a number of remote on-air air chain switchers so we could put some new services on the air. We also changed out automation systems while they were there. So a lot went on, and working remotely made it so much easier. All right. That's it. Thank you, Chris, Tarr, and Pierre Lonewolf. Thank you so much for being here. I've had fun today, and I'm going to wish you guys a very happy Thanksgiving. All right. Thank you, Pierre. Take care, Chris. Hope you get better, man. We'll see you in a week or so, okay? Or yes, he's not going to speak. Thanks a lot to Suncast also for producing the show on this off day. So thanks, Suncast. I really appreciate it. We'll see you next week on This Week in Radio Tech. Bye-bye.